Hello, everybody. Welcome to WhatCulture Gaming. I'm Scott, joined by Jules.
Hello, everyone.
Good. So, Jules, some more ructions happening over in the world of Blizzard and the world of Overwatch 2, the world's most inessential sequel, you might say. And now this came from a Reddit AMA, Ask Me Anything, where an official Blizzard account said a few things in regards to Overwatch 2 and how that game would actually be replacing Overwatch 1, which we can break this stuff down because there's a whole bunch of ramifications that come from this. So the Blizzard account itself said that we're launching with new heroes, maps, and features, and more every 9 weeks or so. Larger pieces of the game that have always been a part of the vision for Overwatch 2 will be released as part of the live service, including the launch of the PvE campaign next year. The key sentence is, when Overwatch 2 launches on October 4th, it will be a replacement for the current live service. Now, there's a whole thing here, because Blizzard are yet to clarify exactly what this means, but Overwatch 1 doesn't have any offline modes. It's always an online game, very much subsisting on its live service itself. And if you go back to 2019, when Overwatch 2 was first announced, they tweeted saying Overwatch 1 players and Overwatch 2 players will play alongside each other on the same maps. And it seems like that's just not the case anymore. So we can break this stuff down. This was always that thing. That's why I opened the news video saying this is the most inessential sequel, because I feel like it's always been a platform of Overwatch stuff anyway. But what do you think of all this stuff so far?
It's very interesting. If this is a sign of things to come, then we're looking at a video game company saying, you don't like what you like. You will have whatever slop we're going to give you. And I'm not like saying that Overwatch 2 is going to be slop. There's obviously a lot of precedents to say that it's going to be a very well made, very polished game. But I do think that the removal of your choice to own said game or want to keep hold of Overwatch 2 in the face of Overwatch 1 being phased out is pretty drastic, because I know maybe you don't want to play Overwatch 2. Maybe you don't want the changes that are coming in. I have no idea why that would be. I mean, I'm not an Overwatch player who's like indebted into the scene myself, but at the same time, I might want to be like, well, maybe I would want my games separate, because it means that if they do start changing stuff, like saying, hey, do you remember that map that you really liked from Overwatch 1? We're just going to phase that out now. We're going to change that. Remember that character that you liked? They're not going to make it into the next season rotation. We're just going to start just changing bits and bits. Revisionist history, just going, no.
Well, that's the whole thing. So they've got one of the major things that I think people are very hung up on, because the game is going free to play. They sort of dropped that bombshell recently as well, which gets around the whole idea that you'd have to pay for a version of Overwatch 2. However, Overwatch 2 has 5v5 as its standard team mode rather than 6v6.
And it changes,
which is assuming like a balanced thing, and you would hope that that's the whole thing. You would assume that they have, players' best interest in mind, and maybe the games play better that way. But still, it's just one of those things where you're not really being given an option in terms of what you actually want to play or what you initially invested in, which is kind of the sticking point. The thing for me is, I remember, because this isn't the first time that they've messed with Overwatch, at least I can do a direct example for myself. I had the Overwatch, it was the Legendary Edition. It's what they initially launched with in 2016, which isn't available on the storefront anymore. If you try and download Overwatch, because I thought I'll go back to it like a couple of years ago, I was like, I'll play some more Overwatch. And I went to download the Overwatch, from my library, get Overwatch on the PlayStation, download it. There's no storefront listing for the Overwatch Legendary Edition anymore. It just pops up and says, do you want to pay $34.99 or $39.99?
Really?
Buy it again. And so I had to go on the PlayStation Store's browser thing and go down my list of transactions back to 2016 and re-ping the download from there to get that version of Overwatch back.
So you didn't own that game even though you paid for it?
Well, that's the thing. I had to, it was like on my account, but I still had to go and like resurrect it from the grave, because they've replaced it with the pricey version and they got rid of the legendary one, which came with a certain bunch of skins and stuff. So they've kind of messed with this before. But at the same time, it's very like Destiny, where they won't just make it a platform called Overwatch. They insist on being like, we're doing a sequel. It's going to be the sequel, even though it's kind of the original. It's kind of replacing everything anyway. And that's just like a weird way to go. But
it is an odd thing, because it's like they went to great lengths to tell people that they were it was going to be a standalone sequel. It was going to be enough to justify being a standalone investment. But now that they're saying, also it's going to operate on the Overwatch mainframe, it's going to absorb all of that information and move forward with it, it's like, well, you're actually then admitting that you're not making as many technological advancements as you were claiming in the very first place. This isn't like a brand new core experience. This is just going to be something that's built on top of a foundation before. Now, there's nothing wrong with that, but it goes into that sort of thing of, what are you actually buying into? Like when a company comes out and says it is a brand new experience, that implies that there's going to be brand new mechanics, core gameplay, everything's changed, built from the ground up. If they approached it with, say, hey, this is going to be an expansion, think of this as Overwatch 1.5, people would actually be a lot less hype to jump on board with it, because they wouldn't see it as being the next evolutionary step. They've actually sold you a product that then have been dialed back a little bit. Now, I
Well,
won't
it's
say
like-
that it's going to be like mis-selling a product in sense of like how maybe those bull shot stuff happens from Aliens, Colonial Marines and such like that, where they used fake gameplay to sell it. But the promise of being something greater than the sum of its actual parts is something that is quite misleading to some consumers. I know many people this morning, from looking into what we're talking about today, they're quite disheartened by the fact that it's going to be replacing or being absorbed. Overwatch 1 is going to be absorbed into Overwatch 2. Because they feel that means that they're not actually getting that next jump forward for the franchise that they were expecting.
Well, it's got that really weird thing as well, where they got out there, and like I said, initially it was like, do we even need this? Do we need an Overwatch 2 when the live service version of Overwatch 1 is so solid? And then I think it was just this year, or maybe the tail end of last year, they started showing off some of the new maps, but it was like remixes of the old maps where they changed the time of day essentially, and that was the main thing. That a lot of the community were just like, is this really all you've done to these maps?
Yeah.
And then the most recent reveal was showing a new character, the Junker Queen, who looks like a great character, but it doesn't seem like she comes with much of like new gameplay mechanics or whatever. Like you said, it's like how much of this actually justifies a sequel. It is very Destiny to Destiny 2. And I feel like, they can get all the marketing around it's a big sequel, but really it's just more Overwatch. Like that's kind of the whole thing.
What I find really interesting is obviously that they're advertising this PvE format, and it's going to be arriving after the initial launch. And that is another step that's very strange for Blizzard, because it's like, this is one of the big features that is differentiating your product from the previous one. It is why people are buying it. It's what people are really excited for. Some people, not everyone's super jazzed in it, but I'm just saying there's a lot of people that are, like you say, curious to see what it's going to be. And the fact that it's not even launching alongside the game is so strange to me. Like, it's just like, if you're going to go to the lengths of saying that it's absorbing Overwatch 1, that you're going to the lengths of changing the maps from times of day or whatever, like, why are you not actually adding in the piece of content that people want day one? Well, it's so strange.
I'm very curious on just, like I said, it's like, what have they done to it? Because it feels like Destiny 2, again, it's like, for me, that's like the direct comparison, again, because it is Activision anyway, as Activision Blizzard as the parent company. So I'm like, that has become the Destiny platform, even though we refer to it as Destiny 2. And they have done, obviously, leaps and bounds, especially when Bungie left Activision to do more content packs themselves and everything. But that's the thing, like, Blizzard are still Blizzard. They're in they have one of the worst reputations in the gaming industry. They're not doing very well. If anything, they've fallen off a cliff in every possible regard. So I kind of wonder if this is just get something out the door, considering it's been 3 years since it was first mentioned anyway. Because where are you on Overwatch in general? Because I'm like, it was a huge deal back in 2016. I played a lot of it, but I haven't really thought about it in a long time.
I played it initially when it came out for PC. I was one of the very few people that didn't get caught up in the storm of hype for it. Right. I was just like, cool, yeah, it's a shooting game. I enjoy hero shooters. I didn't enjoy the mass amount of clones that came out after it that tried to ape its style. And maybe that's what killed my hype for the entirety of it, because I was like, oh god, I'm just seeing hero shooters everywhere now.
Right.
But no, I just have not been invested in it. However, that doesn't mean that I don't enjoy it. There's still like, I still watch like gameplay clip stuff of like people doing amazing tricks and stuff like that. And I enjoy people's review of it. I do catch up on like when a new hero is introduced or how they further the story using those amazing cutscenes that they do. I love the lore and world around it, but I'm just a partial viewer looking in from the outside sort of thing.
Because I didn't realize they've got a closed beta at the end of this month. There's a closed beta on June 28th. So you can sort of apply to get in on that. And I guess that'll be the proof of the pudding kind of thing as to, are there new gameplay mechanics? Does it feel like an Overwatch 2, or does it just feel kind of like a rebranding exercise that is boosted by having the sequel on it? That's what I think this is. I think this is just like, you can call it Overwatch 2 and have the big marketing spin, but ostensibly it's just kind of more of the same game.
What I did notice though is that after people who have had very early hands-on with it and have checked out all of the new features and the changes, like you say, to the 6v6, to the 5v5, people have just been like, well, they've done this to try and balance it so that you don't end up having two tanks or two of a single slot. That means that you end up throwing the gameplay balance off. But what they're saying now is that now there's only one tank slot. It's then putting so much reliance on that person to do well that if you don't have a good player there, there's no backup and the whole thing falls apart. So what they've done is they've made it balance better if you are a high-leveled skilled player, but if you are anything below that point, then you are basically gonna, I worry about the toxicity that comes with it. If there's only one slot, as we all know from every asymmetrical multiplayer out there, you get so much abuse if you do not play that role well or you do not fit the thing. Like, do you remember playing like Evolve or the Friday the 13th game? Everyone wanted to be the monster or Jason Voorhees. So it's a
Mhm.
case of like they had to play that role well, otherwise the game itself wasn't fun.
Yeah,
and
plus
this
that we have-
might have a trickle-down effect to that.
Yeah, we have like decades of Warcraft angst as well in terms of like be the healer, be the tank, get it right.
Yeah,
Like there's a whole
yeah.
like play your role thing, which I guess is what they're going to be going down more into. But it's just like, yeah, there's a lot of balance tweaks to come. There's a lot of stuff that needs to be done in regards to the branding of Overwatch overall. Like I said, I feel like it was this media dominating thing across 2016 and very much backed, I think, by the MCU and how big superhero stuff was. Obviously, we're in a different time period, different time for that stuff too. But overall, like it's a lot of mixed messaging for Overwatch 2, and it seems like as much as they try and clarify stuff, there is that big question mark on just how much it replaces the original game.
Yeah.
But yeah, let us know what you think down in the comments below. How big of an Overwatch fan are you, and are you looking forward to Overwatch 2? I've been Scott from WhatCulture.com.
And I've been Jules from WhatCulture.com.
And we'll catch you next time.
Bye.